So today we're here with Rivers Pearce. Rivers, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to see you in person.
Yeah, finally.
All the way from Charleston, South Carolina.
That's right.
And he's in town. We're in Austin, and he's in town socially right now.
Yep. Little business, a little pleasure.
A little Christmas party coming up over the weekend.
You got it. You got it.
But it's, I thought we'd take this opportunity to sit down and just chat about some things.
Love it.
We're now partners in crime, I guess. We are working for the same company that we'll talk about here.
Yep.
But I think from the first time that we were introduced that we hit it off pretty quickly.
Yep.
Partly because of our backgrounds, but also, because of our philosophies about business and how we think things are going to be done in the future. So tell me a little bit about your early career, because it's not everyone's early career.
No, I took a bit of a circuitous path, I guess. I started playing music. I started playing piano at 6. I started playing guitar around 10 years old. And by middle school, I was just completely obsessed. Started growing my hair out, the whole, you name it, I was in.
Now, what year was this?
I picked up my first guitar in 1988, probably.
Okay.
87, I was about 10, 11. And so at that time it was like hair bands, and like Guns N' Roses hit the scene. I was like, I don't know what that is, but man, I want that. I thought it was the coolest thing. And so, I really got into playing guitar and I played piano pretty well too. And I ended up going to a fine arts high school and studied jazz guitar under a guy named Steve Watson, who had retired at at that age. He was probably like 45, 50 at that age. And he had been Dolly Parton's touring guitar player for about a decade.
Wow. Okay.
He's from Greenville, South Carolina, which is my hometown.
Yeah.
And he was the lead jazz guitar instructor at the University of Southern California. And he was like hot shot. He played guitar. I'm getting a little off track here, but he played guitar with a guy named Mike Post. And Mike Post wrote the theme music for like every 80s TV show. So Hill Street Blues, Saint
right. I remember seeing his name.
Knight Rider, if you see Mike Post,
it was
Steve on guitar. Okay. Yeah. And so he made a ton of money, I guess, and retired, moved to Greenville and taught at the school, the Fine Arts Center. And so I got out of there and went to music school for a year at the University of North Florida and was studying jazz guitar. But by the end of my freshman year, I was already like kind of in the senior band, and I was like, what am I going to do for the next 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was like burned out, I guess, on going to school for music. I moved up to Charleston, South Carolina, dropped out of school to figure my life out and become a musician, and realized I wasn't ready for that either. And I got back in school and ended up getting a philosophy degree. And
very useful.
Yes, really useful. So with the intent of writing music but I wanted to get a degree. I went to college of Charleston, and immediately upon graduation, a friend of mine called me and said his other guitar player was quitting. They needed somebody to fill out 3 months of a tour.
Okay.
Let's go. And so immediately went on the road basically, and I would say for the next 7 to 10 years was a full-time working musician and touring probably 60-70% of the year, sleeping on floors, living in vans.
Can you give us some names? Can you
no one you would have known,
okay.
But like late 90s, early 2000s in the Southeast. The band that was pretty popular was called Five Way Friday.
Okay.
So you can find us, we've still got stuff out, and we still, I'll be somewhere and somebody will hear my name. We were at a Clemson game a couple weeks ago, and my fiance was at a tailgate. I wasn't with her at the time. We had split up, and she mentioned my name, and the girl was like, Rivers, like musician Rivers, right? So if you went to school in the Southeast in the late 90s, early 2000s, you would know the band.
That can be scary when your name comes up like that.
Yeah, it's good social media didn't really exist, So, but it was great. I learned a lot, and I got to the point, and then I moved to Atlanta, the tail end of my career there, and I played with a guy named Bane Maddox, who was a songwriter, and we toured pretty extensively across out this way in the Midwest. And we made enough to make it. a living.
Yeah, sure.
But I was hitting about 30 years old, and my now ex-wife, but wife at the time was
We've all been there, Rivers.
She was like, I don't think it's really going to happen, and once that sits in, it's learning to stop and not feel like you gave up, on the dream. And I was at that point.
Yeah.
And so, so I landed in, by the grace of God, I landed in early digital marketing. And in doing so, at the time around 2004 or 5, you didn't need to have a resume for anything like that, because it didn't really exist.
It was so early.
It didn't really exist.
Yeah.
And some guys taught me how to do early Google AdWords and like old school, like black hat SEO.
About what year was that?
2005-ish.
Okay.
Probably about 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah.
And I fell in, and then I ended up at a digital marketing agency called 360i, and I was doing a lot of early e-commerce work. And I just learned how to do it. I learned how to do everything from, at that time it was just display advertising or search marketing, basically. And I learned how to get you found online, whether that was through paid search or spamming comments and doing the black hat side, So I learned how to do SEO and PPC really well. And that's what led me into real estate, if we're kind of going in how I landed there.
When you first got into this digital marketing space, were there any lessons or things that you could carry over from your music career into the digital marketing space? Well, like what translated?
I didn't think anything would translate. I was a really good guitar player, and I was a really good bartender. Okay. What I realized, though, was I could talk to people. And I could meet them where they were, and a lot of times when you're playing in a band, after the show, you'll have all these people that want to talk to you, and then they come to talk to you and they won't say anything. So now you have to do the talking.
It's crazy.
And
do they, are they
like freeze up a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just kind of like that. I'm in a van. I'm not even in a bus. Right. And, but what I realized was that I could talk to people, and they were looking for people that would go in and pitch what we did to prospective clients. Okay. And other folks at the agency were like terrified to get in front of people. I was like, I get in front of people all day, That's what I was trained to do.
You didn't have stage fright.
I didn't have any stage fright. Yeah. I was trained I've been in front of thousands of people, played thousands of live shows.
Yeah.
As long as I know what I'm talking about. And I did eventually, and I got really good at pitching. And whether it was a new client or upselling or just getting a Q4 pitch or something with a client, and I realized I could get up in front of people and talk and kind of soft sell, biz dev kind of style.
Was it at that point that you really realized that was a talent not a lot of people had?
It was a skill set. I realized it was an actual skill set, and since then I've done countless keynotes and these kinds of things, but live audience stuff never bothered me. I mean, I will say I still get nervous, and I think you should, but and it's one of those things you think you're terrified. I'm like terrified something's going to go wrong or mess up, and then it's over, and it was great,
I think what it comes from, that innate confidence comes from competence.
Yeah.
Just
and
being
muscle memory.
So incredibly comfortable with the skills that you've developed that it's becomes second nature.
I'll tell you something else that translates over to anything is being able to improvise. Because there were countless times when you're ready to rock and everything's going, and then you break a string on the first song. Right?
100%.
Or the amp stops working. And I was lucky I was a multi-instrumentalist, so I guess I'm playing piano tonight kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've broken driver on the seventh tee.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how do I finish the round? Right.
Exactly. And so what I found is that I might be doing a pitch or a presentation. And, back then it was like the projector just didn't work. So the hours you spent on the presentation, now you're just you got no visuals, right? And so,
thank you for doing this interview without notes, by the way. I still have mine.
It's all right. So I just think that those are the kind of things I never anticipated being a skill set that I even considered a skill set. And I would take it back to Steve when I was in high school. When we would take a test, he would call you up in front of the class. You'd have 20 people in front of you, all guitar players. He would put a piece of music in front of you you've never seen before, turn the metronome on and count to 4 and go. That was it. So we just like, this is the training I'm giving you guys. Because if you're in the studio, and back then they're rolling tape, that's time is money, man.
Absolutely.
And tape is money. So
right now,
you mess up, there's a million guys waiting in the wings. So yeah,
it was really trial by fire.
Absolutely. But that's performance,
It absolutely is. So tell me about specifically when you got back into the digital marketing space. You were at a company called Boomtown.
Yes.
Give us a little Boomtown, because in the real estate space particularly, almost everybody's heard of it. Yeah. So tell me what you were doing for them, because I think getting a little inside baseball on Boomtown would be interesting. Yeah,
it's cool. It's really a really wonderful success story. And I was living in Atlanta. We wanted to get out of Atlanta, and my daughter was probably 3 months old, and we wanted to make a change. We always wanted to get back to Charleston, and there's just never any opportunity out of food and bev, basically travel, tourism there. But I found this company looking for a search engine marketing manager called Boomtown.
Okay.
No clue what that is. Long story short, met the CEO. We had some mutual friends, and they convinced me to come over there. And so Boomtown, at the time, was called a leads management system. And this is 2009, 2010. And it was a front-end website with a leads management. Now you would call it a CRM on the back end.
Okay, got it.
And they had built this system that was really great for managing your contacts, and this is early days digital, especially for real estate. And it was right after IDX became a thing.
Okay.
And so they had built these beautiful front-end websites that showcased property. And they would squeeze you, and they knew it could generate leads, but the problem was they couldn't get any traffic to the websites. So it was a classic, like, if you build it, they didn't come. Right? So they had about 50 clients at the time, and they were like, we got to figure out how to get traffic to these websites. Okay. And I knew how to get traffic to websites. So they brought me in, and there was 10 of us in a room about this size, grinding away on computers all day. We had a couple developers and some designers, and I was just manually building Google AdWords ads, manual keyword spreadsheets, and just generating traffic. So the clients would give us a budget. We would manage that budget and get them traffic and leads. And so that ended up working exceptionally well.
Can you give us some names of who was early on with Boomtown?
Let's see. Notable people then was probably the biggest client then, and who became a big name in the space, was Ben Kenny.
Okay.
Ben,
sure.
Everybody,
Keller Williams.
If you know Ben, and
absolutely,
now he's got Place. Let's see who else. Back then, I don't know if there's any other. Oh, Adam Hergenrother was another one. Okay. I don't know if you remember him. He's part of that group now. But yeah, we started getting really good at what we were doing, and there wasn't really much competition. It was like us, Market Leader, another company called Tiger Lead.
It was so new.
It was pretty new, and IDX was a new thing. And we would go to I remember we went to Keller Williams family reunion. Is that the one they do here in Austin, I think?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. It's so we went, and we were literally like on a card table in the corner by the bathrooms. We think,
what year was this?
This was probably like 2010 or 11.
Okay.
And just standing there with our khaki pants on, and like just not, with like a card table and a monitor, and flash forward, 7 years, we're like premier booth, 40 by 40, spinning banner. But we took that and started scaling. And what we could do is we could generate leads for people for $3 to $5,
Wow.
And so what happened was real estate teams started becoming a thing at that time, at the same time.
That's right. Yeah.
And we had folks like Ben Kenny and a lot of these guys we got really involved with the Keller Williams groups, and they were pioneering that model.
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure.
so they needed a system that could generate a high volume of leads. And then we would then kind of work together at these masterminds around the country on how to actually run a team. And so you'd have the team leader, an ISA or a lead concierge, we called it back then. And they've used our platform as the platform and the tech to power these things, because we could generate so many leads, and then you could manage it on the system with an admin, transaction coordinator, ISA, et cetera.
Yeah, so you had basically developed the entire system,
a full blueprint,
soup to nuts.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And so we took that, company from 10 of us in 2010 over the next, I was there almost 10 years. When I left, we had about 350 employees. I think we had 3,000 clients, 50,000 active users on the platform, across real estate and mortgage as well. But in the process, I got to be involved with all of the top teams in the country, all the top coaching organizations, every brand, all the independents. And so just by osmosis of being in the industry, being around all of that.
You were in a really unique position to sort of see the evolution of the industry, not necessarily kind of from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
What did you see in all these successful teams that they did consistently?
Systems. They had systems and they stuck to it, and hyper accountability. It's that kind of Gary Keller, millionaire real estate agent kind of process, accountability, and scalability, and an eye towards, I think the difference was what we noticed is that you came from legacy kind of brokerage model, was not really built on efficiency, operational systems per se. It was more headcount, monthly fees, things like that.
Yeah.
These guys were actually building businesses inside of these brokerages. And
for sure,
that was strangely unique. And to me, I was like, well, what you guys are doing is running a business, and most real estate agents are just running their business. Right?
Run it like a business wasn't a thing.
It wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
And technology powering these things and creating scalability and efficiencies wasn't a thing, because it just didn't exist before, not in this way. And so the other piece of it is that we got to be on the forefront of every, evolution of search marketing. Then social media became a thing, and then paid social media became a thing, right? Then remarketing and retargeting and mobile advertising.